right, welcome to Talkin' Investing. I'm Tom, and as always, this is not financial advice. Today, I want to talk about Bitcoin and the Bitcoin miners daily edition. We had a gigantic day in Bitcoin. The Bitcoin miners also had a good day, but I'm going to tell you why I think it was a not so good day. So let's talk about Bitcoin and the Bitcoin miners. I want to start out by just showing you this is Bitcoin, and you're going to see Bitcoin was up 15% in the last 24 hours. So that's piece of the puzzle number one. Before I get to the big board of Bitcoin miners, I want to show you what Bitcoin did, because Bitcoin had an astounding day and an astounding weekend. Okay, so quickly, this is Bitcoin on the 15-minute time frames. As always, there's an orange line where Bitcoin was when the equity markets closed on Friday. Over the weekend and including today's action, Bitcoin was up 22% since the last time these equities traded. So I want to look at the big board and show you why, even though this was an absolutely phenomenal day, this was a green board from top to bottom, why I think most of these Bitcoin miners actually underperformed today. And if we have another one or two good days in a row, I think we could see a giant leap forward from here. Okay, so before we get to the big board, please remember to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you get notified every time we make a video. We've got a lot going on in the market now, so I'm trying to get as many videos out as I can to you guys as quick as I can. I'm also adding live streams. And of course, everybody remember to smash the like button. Okay, let's take a look at the Bitcoin big board. So you're gonna see, I'm gonna go through most of the list because it was that kind of day. It's worth doing. Bitfarms was up 15.5%. HUT was up 19%. Hive was up 15%. Cleanspark was up just under 10%, 9.6%. Riot was up just under 18%. Riot is the largest market cap out of all the Bitcoin miners. Marathon, which is the second largest market cap out of all the Bitcoin miners, was up 25.7%. Cypher was up almost 38% today. That is the only one that I would say even behaved close to what it should have behaved like today. Really, even though these are fantastic numbers, I would argue we should have really seen 30 and 40% moves to the upside, because remember, we took a look at Bitcoin. Bitcoin was up 22%. So we know that these are leverage plays. They're usually about a 3x leverage, sometimes a 4x leverage. On bad days, they're a 2x leverage. But most of these traded on par with Bitcoin or behind what Bitcoin did. So in other words, they were up less than Bitcoin was. So that doesn't really make any sense. Things do tend to work out over time. But today I would say, despite the fact that everybody's probably hopefully feeling great with a very, very green board, this does represent underperformance, as hard as that is to believe. Then you've got Iris Energy. That was up 2.7%. So that was a huge lagger. Bit Digital up 17%. Gree 15%. TerraWolf was up 9%. That was red for 3/4 of the day. So it went on a big run in the second half of the day and finished up. Argo Blockchain up 10%. Stronghold 18%. MicroStrategy really should have been up exactly on par with Bitcoin. So Bitcoin was up 22% from close on Friday to close on Monday, and MicroStrategy was up 16%, so even that actually represents underperformance. So it's hard for me to complain on a day where the board is this green. I mean, these are gigantic moves to the upside, so obviously by one token, I think we can all feel good about a step in the right direction. However, I do think that if we can take the next step, it's almost like the equities didn't quite believe the move in Bitcoin and they did not react accordingly. So I think if Bitcoin can move up from here, I think you're going to see some bigger moves in the Bitcoin miners to catch up for the action that they just missed out on really over the weekend and today. Okay, with that said, let's actually take a look at the charts and talk a little bit more about what happened to Bitcoin. Also, I want to let you guys know you can join and become a member of the channel by hitting the join button. It's right next to the subscribe button. Members get a bunch of additional content. I've got probably 50 plus videos already saved up that are for members only. I do a new one each week. We also have a members only live stream after the market closes on Tuesday. And lastly, we have members only Discord. So it does support the channel. I appreciate everybody. So special thanks to all the members. Okay, let's take a look at the Bitcoin chart. So this is on the 15-minute time frame, and you're going to see I went all the way back to Friday at the close. Bitcoin was way down here. It was just above this pink line. The pink line was an important line of support. That was the peak of the previous Bitcoin bull cycle back in 2017. So as we talked Friday on the live stream, we were hanging around very near that line. It looked like we were incredibly oversold, so we talked quite a bit on the live stream about the fact that we were probably going to have a little bit of a bounce over the weekend. However, I did not think necessarily that that was going to be anything that stuck, so we were looking to see if we could hold this line of support. More likely, I did think we were going to go down and visit lower lines of support. However, everything changed over the weekend. Okay, so on Friday, we know that Silicon Valley Bank was closed by the FDIC. The vast majority of their deposits were not secured by the FDIC because most of the accounts there were over $250,000. USDC, which is a stablecoin owned by Circle, they had $3.3 billion alone in Silicon Valley Bank. So on Sunday, New York closed Signature Bank, which is another heavily crypto-related bank. So that's two banks out of business. By the way, that is the second and third largest banks to ever fail in the history of the United States. I do think cryptocurrency was potentially going to be the beneficiary of this. Not so much, obviously, the stablecoin had its own problem, but with banks closing and a potential gigantic run on banks Monday morning, the window was closing for the Fed to really figure out how to avoid a total disaster here. Well, what they did was kind of an unprecedented move. So I'm just going to show you this statement really quickly. This is a joint statement by the Treasury Department, the Federal Reserve, and the FDIC. This came out Sunday night at 6:15 p.m. Eastern Time. So this is obviously way outside of the normal situation. This was an emergency weekend. They were working on this all weekend long. For Silicon Bank, they were selling off assets. They were having auctions all weekend long. And by Sunday night, they decided to do this. After receiving a recommendation from the boards of the FDIC and the Federal Reserve and consulting with the president, Secretary Yellen approved actions enabling the FDIC to complete its resolution of Silicon Valley Bank, Santa Clara, California, in a manner that fully protects all depositors. Depositors will have access to all their money starting Monday, March 13th. So going into the weekend, we thought potentially there was hundreds of billions of dollars that was going to be frozen for some period of time. By Sunday night, they decided we cannot go into Monday morning in that condition. It has too much potential for massive systemic damage, for a run on all of the regional banks. No losses associated with the resolution of Silicon Valley Bank will be borne by the taxpayer. So they're saying this is not a bailout. This is not a taxpayer-funded event. They are just facilitating this. There's enough money there. It's just a timing issue. They're going to make this happen without freezing everybody's money up for days or weeks or months. We are also announcing a similar systemic risk exception for Signature Bank. So that's the other bank that New York closed over the weekend, which was closed today by its state chartered authority. All depositors of this institution will be made whole. As with the resolution of Silicon Valley Bank, no losses will be borne by the taxpayer. So we had the second and third largest bank failures in the history of the United States. And by the end of the weekend, basically all the government agencies got together and said, we've got to do something about this. So they have protected all the deposits and all the depositors. That is critical because that is the root and the core of our entire financial system in the United States, obviously, and in the world. The last thing they wanted was everybody Monday morning waking up thinking, is my money good in a U.S. bank, or do I need to take it out? Altogether, this was over a $4,000 move over the weekend, including Monday's activity. If I look at Bitcoin on the 4-hour time frame, it gets a little easier to understand. You can see we spent a lot of last week testing this purple line, trying to hold on as support. That failed. I think that this activity right here is what we talked about Friday on the live stream. That was some nice positive upward momentum based on the fact that we were unbelievably, historically oversold, particularly on the 4-hour RSI. We were down to 9. That's the lowest number I could find in its history. So this move was expected. I think all the rest of this move had everything to do with the fact that there was massive turmoil on the financial side of things. And I think Bitcoin and the entire cryptocurrency universe was the short-term beneficiary of this. The question is this run going to last? Are we going to go from here? Was this the bottoming process, or was this a knee-jerk reaction? If I look at the 4-hour RSI right now, you're going to see back here on Friday, we were down around 9. So we went all the way from historically oversold, all the way across the weekend through today. We got all the way into overbought territory. We got up very near 80. Since 2023 began, we have been running up to close to 90 on this time frame. We've had some very good price action, so there's the potential that there is still room left to run on the upside. But you can see we did run almost the entire gambit here from extremely oversold to overbought. That's on the 4-hour time frame. I want to look on the daily time frame. Okay, so on the daily daily time frame, this also becomes a little more clear. You can see we pulled back about 22 or 23%. We've had now 3 green days in a row, 1 small green day, and then these 2 gigantic green days. So we have passed so many lines of resistance, and we just went absolutely straight through them at 21,500-ish, at 22,400-ish. Then at 23,200, we just blew right through all of those. The last line is this line right here, which is as high as we got. We got to 25,200 back in the middle of February. That matched our August 2022 high. So that's the highest we've been in about 8 months. We tested that several times. We got to that line 3 times in a 5 or 6 day window back in the middle of February. So we could not get through that line of resistance, and it looked like we were going to have a gigantic reset. Obviously, massive external forces changed. So we're right back in the neighborhood of retesting this line. So I think now what we need to look at is, where do we go from here? Can we retest this line at 25,200? And if we can get through this line, I just want to remind everybody there's a gigantic gap above this. From about 25,200 to 28,800 is a big empty gap. So it is possible that we could run right through that gap if we can break through the $25,200 line. So if we look at the daily RSI, this tells a little bit of a better picture. We did get from oversold on Friday. We had a nice run up and we crossed the 50 mark. I like to say that most of our runs, good things happen over 50 on the daily RSI, and you can see we're now up at around 60 or 61. So if 50 can hold as support on the daily RSI, then I think we have the potential to run up from here. The other thing that you're going to see, if we look at the MACD on the daily time frame, we are on the absolute brink of a bullish crossover. This day could very well finish with a green candle on the histogram with a bullish crossover. If it doesn't, it's going to just miss. So we're going to see if maybe that happens tomorrow. So if that does happen, we get a bullish crossover on the MACD on the 1-day time frame, and we can maintain over 50 on the daily RSI, then I do think we can have a very good chance of testing this line at 25,200, and then we're going to have to see where we go from there. So a lot is up in the air. There's a lot of external factors that are dictating a lot of this price action, so there's a little bit of chaos. Last but not least, let's remember that CPI data comes out tomorrow morning before the market opens. So that is going to be a lot less important than it would have been otherwise based on everything else that's occurred. So that's everything I got on Bitcoin and the Bitcoin miners. Everybody have a great night. I will see you tomorrow. I will definitely get something out on the CPI data, and obviously we'll follow up on Bitcoin. For those of you who are members, we'll see you in the members only live stream after the market closes. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.